Picture this. You're soaked, juggling groceries, and the key just keeps spinning. No click, no mercy. A tiny, humiliating failure. Now here's the twist. One stubborn lock like that, failing at the worst possible moment and in front of the wrong audience, kick-started the way we secure cash, doors, data, and the phone in your pocket. Before we crack open how a 1T open became no one gets in, tap like and subscribe. This channel hunts real-world mistakes that change the world. Ready? Back when locks were mostly theater, heavy, ornate, impressive, the real show ran behind the curtain. A simple skeleton key could mimic any key because many locks relied on generous clearances and predictable paths. Beautiful on the outside, forgiving on the inside. That kindness was the flaw. A copied key that wasn't quite right still worked. Sound familiar? Like software that keeps letting you in after you mistype the password? Convenience leaks into vulnerability. Once a few people learn the shortcut, it stops being a rumor and starts being a method. A proud shop owner swore his lock was unbeatable until a cocky metal worker waved a not-quite copy and turned it with a smug grin. What beat the original wasn't brilliance, but slack. Tolerance. The mechanism had to be polite to slightly off cuts, and that politeness opened a side door for anyone with patience and a steady hand. The failure wasn't dramatic. It was mundane. And that's what made it terrifying. If the everyday can be hacked, the everyday must be redesigned. Tinkerers hate losing. Engineers hate being shown up. And lockpickers, they live for it. Public challenges popped up. Open this if you can. The stakes weren't just money, they were reputation. On one side, makers promising invincibility. On the other, obsessive listeners translating tiny clicks into maps. Here it binds, here it gives, here it lies. The spectacle was humiliating and electrifying. But the clutch moment wasn't the pick. It was the redesign that followed. The breakthrough was simple in spirit, brutal in practice. Split the yes-no into layers. Use multiple moving parts that must align together, not in a single forgiving path. Heights, positions, tiny traps. If a universal key fakes sameness, then demand a choreography only the one true key can perform. Locks didn't become impossible, they became expensive to beat. That's what real security is, not magic, but cost. Time, noise, risk. The flaw once hidden became a blueprint. Where designers once smoothed edges, they added steps. Where they left open roads, they built speed bumps. Less romance, more logic. Inside a good lock, every click is a syllable. Designers learn to write with it. If something sounds obvious, it gives the game away. If many actions sound alike, they blur the signal and waste the intruder's time. From that came patterns that mislead, micro-motions that feel right but dead end. The lock learned to act. It could perform almost there while going nowhere. Deception isn't a bug, it's a feature. Valuable seconds become hours when confusion is the point. A promising prototype failed a silly test. A sloppy key worked. Again, the old kindness. This time the team didn't patch with paint. They treated the failure like data. They mapped where heat softened clearances, where dust made parts sluggish, how real life warps lab ideals. Then they redesigned around reality. Microscopic details demanded synchronized moves because great security isn't T about surviving one grand attack. It's S about winning against 1,000 lazy attempts, not heroics. Habit. The defeat became a spec. That rethink escaped the workshop. You can feel it in multi-factor logins, in layered safes, in systems that get slower the more you poke them wrong. The pin logic, the idea of different heights and exact alignments, morphed into digital habits. Multiple checks, staggered gates, rate limiting. We learned from the flaw. Secure where things actually break, not where the brochure looks pretty. Good security is quiet scaffolding. You don't see it, you feel the calm. Let's be blunt. There is no perfect lock. There is only probability management. A legendary picker once proved that unpickable really meant not within your time budget. The world learned the difference between immune and impractical. Modern locks don't promise miracles. They promise irritation for the attacker. Delay is a defense, noise is an alarm, risk is a wall. That honesty began with a very public failure and the humility to learn out loud. Tell me in the comments, have you ever been locked out and blamed the lock, the key, or your rush? And would you trust a lock brand that openly publishes failures and iterates like a software company? I'm reading, designers train their fingers to listen. They feel when metal binds, when a spring lies, when a cam pretends. Prototypes failed in pockets from heat, on streets from grit, and in perfect labs from wear. Those tiny failures became a field guide. Each quirk earned a countermeasure. A notch here, a lip there, a toleranced cliff that rejects almost right. The goal stopped being make a clever key and became anticipate the cheat before it's born. Paranoia turned into process. Loss turned into law. Every time you unlock your phone with a face or thumb, you're using the same philosophy. The system assumes someone will guess, repeat, brute force. So it slows, locks, alerts. A digital version of stubborn pins that only align once the exact path is danced. You're not just opening a door, you're negotiating with a tradition forged in embarrassment and refined in public. When the lock jammed, security clicked. The flaw showed where to reinforce, the challenge separated hype from craft, and the redesign set a culture, build for reality, not for marketing. Next time you hear that satisfying click, hear the chorus behind it. Years of awkward failures turned into calm design. That's why you sleep. Before you go, hit subscribe and send this to your favorite puzzle nerd. And line up the next story. Click the follow-up. Factory defects, the bendy straw that solved summer. A silly fold, a cool fix. What's the next mistake you want on factory defects?